Chapter 130, Divine Artifact of Research 1. 18 milliseconds. Neural Reaction Speed Training Center. Zhu Tui used Luo Shifeng's 24-headed hybrid laser array launcher, which was exclusively owned by him, to perform 3 consecutive nerve reaction speed training and obtained an average score. Last Friday, Zhu Tui activated a genetic base point that was related to his reaction speed in front of Luo Shifeng. He increased his reaction speed to 21 milliseconds. After 3 days of intense training, the genetic base point's reaction speed had almost reached its limit. Just as Luo Shifeng had said, regardless of the order in which the reaction speed genetic base points were activated. The more genetic base points that were activated, the smaller the increase. The first genetic base point, which was related to his reaction speed, increased Zhu Tui's reaction speed by 68 milliseconds. As for the third genetic base point, it only increased his reaction speed by 30 milliseconds. I wonder how much the fourth reaction speed genetic base point will increase. With this doubt, Zhu Tui stood up and prepared to enter Professor Luo Shifeng's personal lounge. That was a good place to cultivate. However, the assistant lecturer, Liu Lan, quickly ran over when she saw Zhu Tui get up. Zhu Tui, are we going to start the divisional neural response stimulation experiment today? Liu Lan took the initiative to ask. Today, Liu Lan was wearing a high-waisted dress that covered her shoes that had grown to a new height. She was almost as tall as Zhu Tui when she stood in front of him. With just a glance, many students could not bear to look away. Such long legs! Below her chest were her legs. However, Zhu Tui knew that it was fake. The long legs below her chest were all fake. When he did not see Liu Lan's shoes, Zhu Tui glanced at his communication device. He checked the time. 2 hours. 2 hours later, we will conduct today's segmented nerve response stimulation experiment. After he finished speaking, Zhu Tui walked straight into the personal lounge that Luo Shifeng did not use much. Before the door closed, Zhu Tui turned around and said, "Oh right, Miss Liu, it's about time. Remember to prepare a cup of hot coffee for me. You brewed the best coffee. It smells great." Bang! The door closed softly. Assistant Liu Lan, who was standing at the same spot, curled her lips slightly. She felt that something was amiss. Who was the student here? Who was the teacher? Grinding coffee? However, her hand-ground coffee smelled really good. Professor Luo said the same thing. In Luo Shifeng's personal resting room, Zhu Tui sat cross-legged on the ground. He gulped down a bottle of level E energy restoration elixir and began to focus on activating the fourth reaction type genetic base point located in his spine. The genetic base points of the reflexes type had yet to form a complete genetic chain, so it was not difficult to activate it. The time taken to activate the fourth genetic base point of the reflexes type was not much, different from the time taken to activate the first genetic base point. A bottle of half-E-grade energy restoration elixir would complete the job. The fourth reflexes type genetic base point was successfully activated. The moment he successfully activated it, Zhu Tui felt his entire spine go numb. A strange feeling surged into his heart. Zhu Tui was currently in an illusory introspective state. He was extremely sensitive to the various changes in his body. The moment he felt his entire spine go numb, he felt that the control and influence his spine had on his body had expanded a little. After the expansion, his body seemed to be more consistent. It was as if the nerve reaction had extended a little. However, that moment of numbness was too short. It was fleeting, and Zhu Tui did not manage to grasp anything. Could it be that there's also a genetic ability chain in terms of reaction speed, but I haven't discovered it yet? A bold thought flashed across Zhu Tui's mind. The development of all the genetic ability chains could only be confirmed after continuous verification. Ideas were useless. Zhu Tui did not want to waste the level E energy restoration elixir. After activating the fourth genetic base point of the reflexes type, he used the energy of the level E energy restoration elixir that he had not used up to activate the sixth genetic base point of the second level of the mind concentration foundation forging technique. He had no choice. He had to be thrifty when he was poor. What surprised Zhu Tui was that he had only wanted to make full use of the level E energy restoration elixir. However, after he used up the remaining level E energy restoration elixir, he felt that the 6th genetic base point seemed to be just a little bit away from being activated. He thought about it. The scheduled time was 2 hours. This would take less than an hour. Zhu Tui decisively downed another bottle of level E energy restoration elixir. 25 minutes later, he downed another bottle. Another 20 minutes later, Zhu Tui slowly opened his eyes. There was a smile on his face. The 6th genetic base point of the 2nd level of the Mind Concentration Foundation forging technique was successfully activated. There were no qualitative changes. Zhu Tui could clearly feel that his mind power had increased to a certain extent. The specific increase was not too precise. However, after activating so many of them, Zhu Tui had a rough idea of the range after each calculation. Every time he activated the 2nd level of genetic base points, the increase in his mind power was about 5% to 7%.